Hello, everyone. I am here with Missy Hancock. Missy, thank you for making time for Hidden True Crime tonight. Missy Hancock is from Excelsior Springs, Missouri, and you are a neighbor of Timothy Haslett. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you know Timothy Haslett?
No, I didn't. I've been here 3 years. I've met him one time.
One time. All
Uh-huh.
right. Tell us what you did notice about him though, because you had come across him a few times.
Well, when I first moved here, I've been here 3 years. He was here when I got here. And the first year he worked, and I just didn't pay much attention. Just noticed that he was by himself a lot and had a little boy that came over from time to time. But like in the last year and a half to 2 years, he's been home a lot. I just think that because of his truck was home. Apparently, he worked out of town sometimes, but in the last year, he's been home a lot. I would say he did not work. And his little boy, who is like 6 or 7, was there like every other weekend or sometimes longer. I just saw them outside. But that's very much to himself. I never saw anybody over there but his son.
Okay, and his son was often playing outside, it sounds like. Is that accurate?
Yes, whenever his son was out, the dad was out working on the truck. I have a view to the back of the house and the driveway. So the front of the house faces the other way. So he would work on his truck a lot. Also, in the last year, he's gotten a drone, I've noticed. So whenever he's outside, he uses the drone. He works on his truck. He recently got a trampoline this summer. And so him and his little boy were outside a little more. And the dog, that's it.
That's actually a really interesting tidbit about the drone, that he would fly the drone a lot, that he was
Yeah.
home a lot doing that. Makes
Yeah.
you wonder what he was looking at or
It,
where he was flying. Um, how long had that been going on, the drone flying?
probably about 6 months. But I tell you what, I did notice too in the last couple of years was wrecked cars. There would always be, not always, okay, probably about 15 in the last 2 years of cars. They were all like the same model, like a Geostorm, Geo Metro, kind of smaller car, parked in the back of his driveway or even lined up. Sometimes there was up to 3 of them at a time that were wrecked. Usually the fender or bumper were off, laying on top of the car, I'd say 90% of the time. And they would stay there sometimes a week, sometimes up to 3 months. And a tow truck would come and get them. And so that happened. That was probably about 15 different cars. And I don't know. I just assumed that was kind of something he did on the side or some kind of business. I don't know what was going on there.
Sure. Right, the things you assume and then you look back and you wonder.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right, and so and we had heard this, that there was a tow truck coming to tow cars a lot. This might be part of that. Did you see the tow truck a lot?
Um, yeah, like maybe every 3 months, maybe something like that. Depending
Okay,
the cars are there. It never, I mean, winter, summer, spring, whatever, that was always happening.
okay. Would you see him doing a lot of construction? We learned from the probable cause today, of course, that or not today, excuse me, yesterday when it came out that, we learned that he built the room in his basement. Did you see him working on construction?
No, what I did see usually was him working on his truck, but I felt like he worked on a lot of things right outside of his garage, which his truck was kind of there in the garage, but he never opened the garage all the way. He would open it like this much, enough to crawl under, and
And
I
oh, go
just
ahead.
kind of deal. So I'm like, okay, because it looked kind of sketchy over there. So I assumed he couldn't get the garage door all the way up.
So in other words, he would only open the garage door partially, and then he would roll out or kind of sneak out underneath the garage door.
Yeah.
And you weren't thinking, of course, that he was holding hostages in there. You were thinking,
Oh my gosh. I thought this guy just lived by himself, worked on cars, just kept to himself. I just thought he was probably sketchy in there. I mean, no, I did not have a clue. I've never heard like loud music, never seen him drink a beer, smoke, let alone hear any screaming or anything from there really. Outside of his dog barking. That's it.
Huh. And, yeah, that's fascinating. Nothing that stood out. And yeah, Blue Skies mentioned you probably thought you had a hoarder garage situation or something. Was was there a lot of garbage in his yard? Did you notice that at all?
Well, the yard, like always need to be mowed, and it was always kind of, he had a corner lot, and the back of it, it was kind of an L shape, so no one can really see the back of this L. Like you can see the back, and there's another area which I never could see, but there was usually a lot of like plywood stacked up, but it looked old and rained on, and just like trash in his like area up by the garage. But and I never really went around the front of the house. I never even left my house that way, so I was just always kind of came in the back of his place. So I mean, I went by his house a few times in the front, and yeah, it had some, miscellaneous stuff out front, kind of more of like a hoarder kind of vibe, but not a lot of wood or construction kind of stuff.
And again, he had a child there, and so it seems like he's a single father. And you mentioned though it didn't seem like he was working, and that was maybe the past year. Would you say?
Yes, and actually a year and a half maybe. And I got hurt in June. So, and I usually work all the time, and I've been home. I'm waiting to get the surgery back then. So June, July, August, and September, I've been pretty much home.
Hmm.
I went to work the first week of September. And I was all the time like going on my front porch and sitting out there for a few minutes and um, coming back in. I had a spinal injury. So actually in July was the first time I saw him. I didn't know his name was Tim, and his son was jumping on a trampoline they had gotten not too long ago. So this was in July. I walked over there because I knew all my other neighbors. I had never met him. So I walked over there. He was sitting in a chair by the trampoline that's still out there, and the little boy was jumping, probably like 6 or 7 years old. I said, "Hi, I've been here 3 years. I'm your neighbor. I've never met you. My name's Missy." And he just loudly grunted at me, like, "What?" Like, I mean, it was,
Hmm.
I could hardly hear what he said, but I felt immediately this pretty dark vibe. I was like, okay. And the kid was just, the little boy was just, "Hey, how you doing?" Happy and talking to me. And the reason I went over there too, because I noticed he had cut his hair and shaved his beard a little bit, and he had mowed his lawn. I don't know why I felt like, okay, maybe this is a good time. Plus, I'd never met him, and
Sure.
so after that, I talked to the little boy, and I just said, "Okay, take care." And he never said another word. He gave me the look like, "Lady, get out of here, man." I mean, so I just walked back over, and that was the only real interaction I've had with him.
Okay. Yeah. And probably after that, you didn't feel inclined to continue trying so hard to get to know him.
No, not
Uh,
at all.
what are the neighbors speculating on now? His house is open. We might have lost her, but the house is boarded up. There you are, Missy. Chain link fences around, and they're not telling you a lot. Is there anything else that neighbors know, or what you're hoping to find out soon?
I've heard so many things, a variety of different things from different sources, and you know, um, they haven't really told us anything. When I woke up Friday morning, my son and daughter-in-law actually happened to be in town. We were here Friday morning, and we heard Aries is the dog. That's really the only time I heard him talk, was he'd yell at Aries. He was getting taken by animal control, and Aries was only outside his dog whenever the guy was outside. So I kind of walked over to the police. I was like, "What's going on?" And they're like, I said, "Why is the dog being taken? Because he's never been a problem." And he said, "Well, that's just part of an issue we have going on." And so then I slowly found out that there have been several victims, and apparently the girl that came out of the house had been in there since September, and she said many of her friends didn't get out.
That's what we've heard as well. We interviewed Ciara Tharp, your neighbor,
Mhm.
Saturday, and she implied that. But a law enforcement, I do want to share with everyone, has not yet made a statement on if there are additional victims. But that is sort of what people are concerned about and wondering about. I agree.
Mhm.
I don't think you build a home in your basement uh, to hold someone for 1 month either. It feels like he had further plans, whatever those are.
I Yeah, it's just a definitely eerie vibe here now. I mean, it should have been before, but you didn't know, and you would think you would pick up on something. But I mean, he's very private, and I feel like when people want to, be sneaky and hide things, they're going to do it. I mean, I've found out that he rented the home, and that he was kind of behind on his rent. These are all things that I've, heard through neighbors, and
Mhm.
not sure exactly what happened, but I do know his son was in there when she was in there, and that's so disturbing for that little guy. That I hope he gets some immediate help is kind of what I want to see come out of it.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so to clarify, sorry, one second. Excuse me. To
Mhm.
clarify, he was working perhaps more, or his car was gone more, and then you noticed in the past year he was home more, which would imply he didn't have a job and that he was flying a drone a lot.
Yes.
Okay. The drone flying is interesting. And then again, yeah, don't we all exit our garage the same way, right? We open the door a little bit and then we all roll out. No, I'm just kidding.
We
We don't do that. But
don't, but if you had a garage that was messed up, which that garage did look messed up, so I was like, okay, yeah,
interesting.
very, very interesting. Yes.
Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to share right now, Missy? We really appreciate all the information you have as we follow this, and definitely want to keep the public apprised, especially because the law enforcement in your area isn't saying anything right now, and I know that there are many questions.
Yeah.
Anything anything else you want to say right now?
I think that's it. Just that it's just a very dark vibe here. It's just crazy, and I wish that I would have heard something, or I do know, well, one neighbor down the road said he did go knock on his door to return something that fell out of his truck. This was a few months back. And I asked the gentleman, I said, what fell out of his truck? He said it was a huge thing of hand cleaner. So he went to the front door, which I'd never seen. He went to Tim's front door and knocked and knocked. And he had seen him come home with his kid, so he knew he was in there. So he said, I had just left and went down the sidewalk, and he opened the door and was like, what? Why are you here? And he's like, I just saw something fall out of your truck. I left it at the front door. And he just took it and slammed the door.
Huh. So something fell out of his truck. It was hand sanitizer, according to your neighbor. He
Yeah.
tried to take it back and it didn't work out, but he tried to return it. Very interesting.
So right now, yeah, that's all I have.
Hey, thank you. Let's be in touch. Thank you so much for your information, and we'll keep you posted as well as we learn more. Thank you, Missy, so much.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.